Salam, salam, welcome back. I'll make this quick stream about a question that's often, floating around when people, assume that Islam isn't for Black people or African Americans or Africans of um, the Bantu cradle and Niger Congo background. So here's to shed some light on Black prophets in Islam, and were there any? This is by Omar Suleiman, chapter screwed up by Free Quran Education that do not own the rights. Let the head go, inshallah.
Ones that were mentioned to us. And we will find actually a few. One of them, historically speaking, is Sulaiman alayhi salam. Sulaiman alayhi salam is biblically described as having dark skin. Bani Israel, they had various colors, historically speaking. Why? Because their origins were different. Some of them had Arab origins. Some of them had some Egyptian.
Said biblically, Suleiman had dark skin. I wonder where that is. If anyone knows, let me know. Never knew that.
Origin and so on and so forth. Rasulullah ﷺ comes from the lineage of a black woman. Who is that woman? Hajar alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam. The man who...
Oh, let's not skip past that. Muhammad came from the lineage of a black woman. Hajar. Hagar was a black woman. Well, she was Egyptian, so okay.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to directly. Kalimullah. The man who the Quran speaks about more than any other human being.
This is going too fast. It's a lot of black excellence right here. Musa, Kalimullah. It's black.
In history, subhanAllah, Musa alayhi salam, the Prophet ﷺ did not just say that he was black. He said that Musa alayhi salam, when I saw him, he resembled the people of Az-Zut or Shanu'ah, the two darkest tribes amongst the Arabs. So the Prophet ﷺ said Musa alayhi salam had the blackest skin. He was not part of the problem with Hollywood imagery. Like Musa alayhi salam does not look like Christian Bale. All right, he doesn't look.
Kudos to this Palestinian brother. I believe he's Palestinian, Umar Suleiman of the Yaqeen Institute. There's not many scholars or people of prestige or clouded up individuals will admit to this and attest to this, the truth.
Look like, and even the older movie, The Ten Commandments, right? There is no man, subhanAllah, that is praised more in the Quran and spoken about more in the Quran than him. So if you have a problem with people who have darker skin, you have a problem with Musa alayhi salam, then you have a serious problem with the Quran, and you have a serious problem with faith altogether. So subhanAllah, how can a racist be a Muslim then? How can a racist be a believer? How can a racist say he loves the Quran? Now, the prophet who you have the most controversy about always in history is Jesus alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam. His image has been politicized throughout history. Even the earliest days of Christianity after the Apostle Paul, the image that Jesus assumed depended on the culture that Paul was reaching. To the Persians, looked like Mithras. He looked exactly like their Persian gods. To the Romans, he looked like their Roman gods. To the Egyptians, he looked like the Egyptian gods. To the Indians, some of the Hindus actually said that Isa alayhi salam was an incarnation of the Lord Vishnu.
Oh, Krishna. Yeah. I heard about that. I used to do a lot of comparative cosmology. I was born to Islam, but I did a lot of soul searching myself. These are different things, and I'm always, even in 5%, they say that the black man is always in every ancient culture. So in also these characters, even also in these different faiths I've found.
So they portrayed him as a carnation of the Lord Vishnu. What does Jesus, peace be upon him, look like? Interestingly enough, we find a disagreement amongst the Sahaba themselves. So we find a few ahadith. One of them is from Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu.
There's a disagreement upon the Sahabas. We got to get into this. Like, what do the Sahabas disagree about what Isa alayhi salam looked like?
And this is authentic hadith that the Prophet ﷺ says that while I was sleeping at the Kaaba, I saw a dark man who is the most handsome of dark men that you have ever seen.
Muhammad ﷺ said, while I was sleeping at the Kaaba, I saw a dark man who's the most handsome of dark men you have ever seen. Describing Isa, I believe. Jesus.
He's praising the beauty of Isa alayhi salam. He said he had hair that was reaching to between his ears and his shoulders, like the most beautiful of hair that you've ever seen. He combed his hair and water was dripping from his hair, and he was leaning on two men.
He combed his hair with it. So he was must have came from wudu or something. You know what I mean? From praying or baptizing. Baptizing is also like wudu. You know, we are similar. Okay, Nazarenes, are real Christians out there, Unitarians, we are similar to you.
Who were doing tawaf around the Kaaba. So I asked, I said, Man hadha, who is this? So they said, this is Al-Masih ibn Maryam. Then I saw a man with wiry hair and who was blind in his right eye, as if it was a floating grape. And I said, who is this? And they said, this is Al-Masih ad-Dajjal. This is the Antichrist. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, though, he has a narration where the Prophet ﷺ says, I saw Musa, Isa, and Ibrahim.
With Dajjal.
Says, I saw Musa, Isa, and Ibrahim. The Prophet ﷺ says, I saw Musa, Isa. Ibn Abbas wiry hair and who was blind in his right eye, as if it was a floating grape. And I said, who is this? And they said, this is Al-Masih ad-Dajjal. This is the Antichrist. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, though, he has a narration where the Prophet ﷺ says, I saw Musa, Isa, and Ibrahim alayhim salam. And Isa alayhi salam was of a red complexion, curly hair, and a broad chest.
We read it. So one says he's dark, wet hair. This one says he's red, curly hair, broad chest.
Musa alayhi salam was of a dark complexion, straight hair, and a tall stature, as if he was of the people of Azut.
So Musa was tall, dark, with straight hair. Kind of like some East Africans, Eritreans, Yemeni, Somali, Fulani, some people of Niger are very black with very straight hair. Okay.
Ibn Mas'ud's narration says that the Prophet ﷺ spoke about the Al-Masih ad-Dajjal in front of the people, and he said, Allah is not one-eyed, while ad-Dajjal is blind in the right eye. Why? Because Dajjal will claim to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, Allah is not one-eyed.
So that could be breaking down into some so many allegorical, metaphysics due to the circumstances, Being blind in the right eye, not being able to see righteous, only seeing the left way of your delusional ways. Even how they one-eyed for a cameraman that's looking at you, talking about within the media. These cameras always looking at us through our phones and our laptops. You sugar dig. You're smelling what I'm shelling and you're picking up what I'm putting down. I'm talking about how these eyes they be doing, hey, a lot of figurative things.
Right? Ad-Dajjal is blind in the right eye, and he said his eye looks like a rotten grape. Then he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, while I was sleeping near the Kaaba last night, I saw in my dream, فَإِذَا رَجُلٌ آدَمُ كَأَحْسَنِ مَا يُرَى مِنْ Adam. The same thing that he said in the narration of Ibn Umar. There's another narration from Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, also in al-Bukhari, where he says, لا والله ما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لعيسى أحمر. He said, I swear by Allah that the Prophet ﷺ did not say that Isa alayhi salam had red skin. So Umar radiallahu anhu is attaching an oath to it. He said, ولكن قال بينما أنا نائم أطوف بالكعبة فإذا رجل آدم, and so on and so forth. Now, the point of this is, number one, we should not dispute like the Christians do about the color of Isa alayhi salam, because it doesn't matter.
It does matter if they believe that is the God, and which is where the white power structure comes from, where we always had the white Jesus within it. But I do appreciate to shine the light upon the black greatness. Well, not necessarily just of a certain place, but just because the lie has always been such that has been the Antichrist. These Christian nations that still are under these guises. A lot of places don't even have information or revolution, or even let alone on one for the melanated individuals of those places. Some people can't even, the internet doesn't even reach this far to be able to look at things like this.
You have conflicting narrations. The stronger of them, obviously, that Isa alayhi salam had dark skin, which would be more historically accurate, but it doesn't matter. That's the point here. It was a non-factor, and it's part of the wisdom of not portraying the Prophet. Ibn al-Manzur, he says that Hajar, Musa, Isa, and Adam alayhi salam, because Adam,
I think Isa is the symbol of Adam, because Adam didn't have a mother or father, but he's not God. Isa didn't have a father, he's not God. I do believe that Ibrahim alayhi salam and Muhammad probably favored each other, and Isa and Adam probably favored each other, being dark, black. You know, Musa. I think everybody know Musa Black. They always had all these movies, the Ten Commandments, all this stuff. Just he even had an Ethiopian wife, I believe, or something like that. And then people say, "Oh, they were racist," things like that. You fail to realize how Africa is even today, with the wars that go on and the tribalism and how they see each other in their minds. So it's like when you look at ants. You think every ant looks at each other like they're the same ant? Us from afar, we think they're all ants, but down to the microscopic level, they're not the same ants, you know? So a lot of people, you can also flip that for unity. Um, ants might think they're different, but really they're all really the same. And we should be one. That's Unitarianism, the monotheism of Islam.
means dark, actually in the Arabic language. That's how the Arabs used to describe someone with dark skin. The Sahaba did not care to ask much about this. And this is very significant because if you look at the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to ask him about everything. But this was not a concern that they had. It simply did not matter to them. So we should not portray them, and it should not become an issue to where it becomes politicized. Some of the other prophets that are mentioned in the Quran or figures, you have Dhul Qarnayn, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, and Ibn Abbas, they both say that he was a black.
I never heard that Dhul Qarnayn was a black king. That's crazy. Because took on my speculations, but yet Jews were not Jews, and the Neanderthal population of the Eurasian, peoples of the world. Because they say if you're of pure African descent, you don't have Neanderthal DNA. Everyone that is outside of African descent does have Neanderthal DNA. So what is that telling you? I don't know, just food for thought.
King. Now, obviously, Dhul Qarnayn is a controversial historical figure in and of itself because is he Alexander? Is he Cyrus? Allahu alam. Again, it doesn't matter.
Was Cyrus black?
The point being, though, at this point now, because we know that there are prophets that Allah mentioned and there are prophets that Allah did not mention. The Prophet ﷺ says that there were 124,000.
Exactly. That's when people say, "Oh, what do you know where Islam comes from?" It's just the ending of a succession of information that's been passed down. When people be like, "Oh, they saw ancient wisdom that they got from the Kemetic." Like, no, bro, we're saying that. We're saying it's a part of it. It's the same thing. We're saying it's the same thing, connected from the beginning. Abu Adam.
1,000 prophets. Authentic hadith in Muslim Imam Ahmad. Amongst them,
I'm about to look up if Cyrus is black because I don't know.
315 were messengers. So you can imagine how many of them were of different languages, how many of them were of different races, what they must have looked like, where they were sent to. That would mean that there were African prophets, there were Indian prophets, there were Chinese prophets, there were prophets that were sent probably to the Americas way before, right, with the ancient settlers of this land. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ.
Cyrus was Achaemenian. Is that the son of Agamemnon? Is there Agamemnon from that story, that movie with the whatchamacallit, the Spartans? I heard that king was black.
حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We don't punish a people until we send them a messenger from amongst themselves. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمٍ. We have never sent a prophet except that he speaks the language of his people. That means a person who walked with them, spoke with them, a person that was just like them, a person that they could relate to. ما لهذا الرسول يأكل الطعام ويمشي في الأسواق. What is it with this prophet that walks in the marketplace, uses the restrooms, eats, and so on and so forth? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sending them to people all over the world in every language and in every color.
Very interesting right there. Very interesting. I wonder if we could find something else similar to that. Because we gotta know that we do, have these in our religion, in our deen, you know. So I do believe that the Black Madonna, what the Pope looks up. What is they doing? What about to pray? Hey guys, little yarmulke kufi on. That's the Black Madonna right there. I do think Jesus was black because he's a symbol of Adam, and so was Mary. Who was very black. I don't think Mary was of the bloodline of Judah. I think she was Imrani or Levite, but that's another story. Put it in the comment section if you think Mary was a Levite or a Judite. The Black Madonna. Go let go. Damn, do it gotta be? Copy it like that? It's ninja. But yeah, I'm going. Hopefully that works. But what's going on with this Black Madonna?
Hundreds of Black Madonnas in the form of paintings and statues are venerated in countries like Spain, France, Italy, Switzerland and Russia. Most of the images are concentrated in Europe. There are more than 500 known Black Madonnas in Europe alone. The question is why the Virgin Mary is black. There are a number of theories. Firstly, a theory is an idea that is suggested or presented as possibly true, but that is not known or proven to be true. In this video, we'll be seeing some theories. Before getting into the theories, let me tell you a truth that I believe. All the Black Madonnas are not darkened over time. Certain Black Madonnas are really intended to be black. Yes, Africans have an influence on the Black Madonnas. Some Black Madonnas are really beautiful African Virgin Mary and baby Jesus. They depict Africans. At the same time, all the Black Madonnas are not really intended to be black. This one is not a theory, but the truth and information that I believe, and this whole video is based on what I researched.
Okay, let's see what your research on this side.
The term Black Madonna or the Black Virgin refers to the statues or paintings of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus, where they are depicted with dark skin. Historically, Isis of Egypt was the first recorded appearance of the Black Madonna. As Egypt is an African nation, Isis is an African goddess. Isis is one of the ancient Egypt's most important divinities, who is called the mother of all gods. Isis was a goddess worshipped all over the ancient world,
SubhanAllah.
especially Roman world. Isis is also known under many different titles, such as the Queen of all gods, Queen of Heaven, and Mother of God. And this sounds similar to what we
SubhanAllah.
address the Virgin Mary. According to the
Maryam
Egyptians,
is the
Isis
queen
was
of
the daughter
Janaba,
of the
right?
earth god and sky god and the wife of Osiris. It is said that Isis gave a virgin birth to her son Horus, but this virgin birth of Horus does not even match 1% of the holy birth of our Lord Jesus. I can't explain everything in detail about this in the video, but I want you to check the link in description.
So, do you think that Mary was a prophet? She has a whole chapter in the Quran al-Kareem named after her. Was Mary a prophet?
And visit the site to know more about this virgin birth of Horus. There are many stories in the life of Isis, but what we are here for is how Isis gave the blueprint for the Black Madonna. Let's see the common points in Isis and the Black Madonna. Isis is the goddess of fertility. A fertile soil is black or dark brown in color, and the Black Madonna is represented in black or dark brown color. Isis is an African goddess, so she's black, and the Black Madonna is black. Isis is represented as nursing her child, Horus. You can see the similarities. When the Romans entered Egypt, they saw a land of magnificence.
Just because you have a picture of a suckling doesn't mean that it's the same as. He definitely got this information from Sa Netter or something like that. We come to find out that Isis and Meridian really don't have much in common at all. Neither is the resurrection story of Osiris common than anyone else's. It just so happens Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything that was used, that was worshipped, Allah used it against people. Like say, people used to worship frogs, crocodiles, fire, things like that. He made those into plagues. The sciences, healing. He brought Isa there, or also the Greeks, the Romans having demigods that were half man, half God. Allah just made a creation without a father. You know, um, everything that we had that was worshipped, Allah used it as something against us. So I say that to say that with him trying to link ISIS and Mariam together. No, that's just not really probable, in my opinion, my Indian brother. But yeah, 'cause there's a lot of historical things that have the child and mother, um, you know, for a lot of deities. But I just wanted to touch up on the black prophets and that there are, I never knew Duke called a name was supposed to be a black prophet. That was very interesting right there. Black light out.